Hello and welcome to Tech Football. I'm George. I'll be joined by Ryan, Joe and Tom, and today we're doing our Premier League Match Week 5 predictions, and these games are midweek. So
Tuesday to Thursday.
Tuesday to Thursday, I believe. What's the first game?
Palace v Brentford at Selhurst Park.
Well, what do you think, Tom? What's your
I'm
prediction?
going to predict 2-0 to Palace on this one. I think they've started the season decently well, not amazing, but I think they're good enough to beat the Brentford side. The Brentford side looked quite convincing against Man United, but I think that was a bit of an anomaly result.
It was a fluke.
So,
yeah.
Lovely word.
Joe, what's your prediction for this game?
I was to say, I think with the Brentford game, it was just more a case of United being poor than Brentford being that great.
Well, they were good, but
Yeah.
United were bad.
Yeah, they were at the time shocking. I'm going to go 3-2 to Palace, because Palace, they have a knack for scoring goals, as we saw against Manchester City as well on the weekend. They're taking the 2-0 lead.
Disappointing they lost that 2-0 lead.
Yeah, I think a side that, a side like Brentford won't be able to come back from that. So I think it's going to be a heated game, but 3-2 to Palace.
Yeah, well, I think I'm going to go for a 1-0. To me, this game just screams 1-0 for some reason. I'm not too sure why. I mean, both are pretty good going forward. Players like Tony and Bueno, and Palace have Eze, Saha. They've got decent attacks that will sort of counteract each other. That's why I think it will end in a draw. And I think they both got relatively solid defences, but I think overall it'll end up in a 1-1 draw with probably Tony and Zaha scoring against. He seems to be scoring a lot at the moment.
I mean, two mid-table clubs. For me, it screams a 2-1 win for Brentford. I believe they've been more convincing doing it against harder opponents. I mean, with Palace, yes, they got the 2-0 lead, and then they bottled it against City. So I think it'll be a very close game, but Brentford will just edge it out 2-1. I think Tony gets both the goals and Zaha gets Palace's goal.
Yeah, fair enough. Tom, what's the next game of the weekend?
Fulham vs Brighton.
Well, Brighton fan, you might as well start us off.
2-1. I don't think we'll to Brighton, because I just think they've started the season very well, where we've only drawn one game and won the rest. So, and I think Mitrovic for Fulham's going to score, and for Brighton probably who's going to blow me? Trossard.
I think Trossard's going to score. Joe, what do you think?
Very, very similar there. I'm going for 2-1 as well to Brighton. Again, I think it'll be a brace for Trossard, and Mitrovic will score late, but it won't be enough. I think Brighton is slightly outweigh Fulham, even though that Fulham are at home. I think Brighton are better away anyway, so they'll probably outshine their opponent.
Yeah, and for me, this is one of those games that every single week seems to go. It looks like a decent matchups of two relatively similar teams. I normally go for a 2-2 draw, which is why I think I've predicted so many of those. But this time I thought it would be 2-2 between Leeds and Brighton, so I'm going to go for what Brighton just did to Leeds and go to 1-0 Brighton, because I think I've been underrating their defence so far this season, and it is their attack they need to worry about more, and I think their defenders will be good enough to keep Mitrovic out, and I think in the end players like Trossard, McAllister, Gross, maybe Undav if he plays, can score. So yeah, one of the Brighton players, probably a midfielder realistically, will probably score and get them the win.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I'm going to go for a 2-0 Brighton victory. So far, I have backed the Brighton boys, and it's paid off for me. So there's no reason not to back them. They've had such a good start, not losing a game. And Fulham, whilst they've had some good results, it's not to the extent of a Brighton. Not really. They don't look as convincing as Brighton. I mean, I have factored in it's in a home game, so I think a 2-0 to Brighton, fair result. I just don't think Mitrovic can penetrate a defence as good as Brighton's. Probably better than Liverpool's right now, so probably won't score.
Wow.
So the goal scorers for Brighton for me, Pascal Gross and Trossard.
Yeah, well, I think we've all predicted a relatively likely to happen result there, but what's the next game, Tom?
Southampton vs Chelsea. Do you want to start this game off?
Well, Chelsea. You know what? I think Southampton, there's no denying they've been poor, haven't they?
You've not seen them against United. They were very good.
They've been decent.
I think they've been one of the unlucky teams.
They beat Leicester.
Yeah, but I mean, that was a very late game, and Leicester's not really exactly a very good side, so
I don't think
Right
there's been a
now,
game
are they?
yet though, other than maybe the Spurs game, where Southampton have seriously been like
I
taken
mean, even
apart
in that game,
tactically.
it did go 1-0
Yeah, they
up,
went
as
1-0
well.
up as well.
So like, I think you're being a bit harsh on Southampton.
I just think, you know what, a 4-0 Chelsea result could happen.
4-0 to a team that lost 3-0 to Leeds.
Oh,
Yeah,
hold
well.
on. Should have beat your team, but referees robbed us. I think 2 goals for Sterling, a goal for Havertz, probably Mason Mount to get the 4th.
Yeah.
For me, I'm going to go 2-0 to Chelsea. I think that Chelsea are a good side, but 4-0 is a little bit unrealistic considering the other results, which is losing to Leeds 3-0. You don't really want that to happen. I think they got last game. I think Gallagher got a red card, so he.
Yeah,
So
I think that's almost going to help Chelsea though. They played better after he got sent off.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
In all honesty, I would like to throw in the devil's advocate and go for a Southampton win, because it is at St Mary's, but I can't honestly, from the bottom of my heart, agree with that being the way forward.
You got to go with what you think will get you the most points in the predictions.
So I think I'm going to go for 3-0 Chelsea.
See, how is 4-0?
Because again, I
different.
was throwing in the devil's advocate. I was just saying, you know, I'm not actually feeling that way. I'm going to go 3-0 because I think they are better. Southampton are inconsistent, to say the least.
Yeah.
They're like Palace times 100 in terms of inconsistency, and it's just not really going to be a close contest, I think.
Well, I think for me, this game goes one of 2 ways. Either Chelsea, after not having the greatest form, they finally get just a kick up the rear from Tuchel and play really well, or they continue their pretty much poor run of form at the moment and like drop points. And what I'm going to go for is the time they drop points. I'm going to go for 1-1 with Southampton. So I think Southampton were unlucky to not draw or even win against United. I think they were definitely the better team on the day. Like, their defending was brilliant overall. Just one chance for United kind of ended it. And yeah, I think they were unfortunate to score. So I reckon against Chelsea they will be able to put one in, and someone like Sterling will equalise for Chelsea at one point.
I just think a poor run of form is a very bad word, and we only drew to Tottenham.
Yeah, but you're not what you were.
Drawing to Tottenham's good, and we lost
You better-
3-0 to Leeds.
Is drawing
Be
to Tottenham good when you were the better team? If
At
you're the better
Stamford
team,
Bridge,
you
Yeah, but we got robbed by the referees. What can we
You can't
do?
say that, and it's an excuse every time for you.
What do
Everton,
you mean?
stop-start game excuse.
What do you mean we won that
Then
game?
Tottenham.
We
yeah,
won
but
that
then
game.
you still made excuses.
Was it convincingly though?
It was only a
A
penalty.
win to win, isn't it?
You were dominated by them.
No,
You might have dominated against Tottenham, but it kind of unfolded. And you dominated against Leeds, and it didn't work.
Anyway,
Anyway,
little butt
moving
hurt, not everyone's
swiftly on.
predicting
Ellen
Chelsea.
Road, we've got Leeds v Everton on tomorrow.
Shall I start this
It's an interesting game. Go on, Tom.
I'm gonna
Start us
go,
off.
I think for me it's going to be like a draw 1-0. So I think who's going to score is for Leeds. I'm going to go with Aronson. He's looking quite promising, I'd say. And for Everton, I think Gordon's going to score. I mean, he doesn't normally score, but I think he's going to get one really.
Yeah.
He
you think,
scored
Jack?
last week,
I
didn't
come
he?
did.
Completely off the cuff. I actually haven't thought of predictions for this one, but I'm going to go for 2-1 to Leeds because they've got the home advantage. Rodrigo seems to be scoring left, right, and centre this season after the Rafinha's departure, but I think him and maybe I don't know how to score. Maybe Aronson as well.
You could get a double, to be
But it
fair.
could be 2 for Rodrigo, and I think that Everton will score as well at some point. Maybe an own goal from a Leeds player. I don't know why I'm thinking that. But I'm going to go for 2-1 to the home side.
I want to say that first off, I'm honestly disappointed that I think Haaland's top of the goal scoring charts now. So
That
it
is disappointing.
was interesting having a non-Big Six player up there, you know, with Rodrigo.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think
It's
Leeds
not really
versus...
disappointing because he's been brought in to score goals and he's doing his job.
We're not saying we're disappointed by him. We're just saying it's interesting to have different
to have
players up
an
at the top of
underdog
the
as
charts.
the top goal scorer.
Yeah, don't know what you're on about there. But yeah, Leeds versus Everton. I think I'm pretty much always going to go against Everton as a Liverpool fan, and I think I'm going to go for a 1-0 Leeds win. I think that Leeds looked very good against Chelsea the other week. They had Mark Rock and Tyler Adams in the midfield looked very solid. Their back line looked really good as well. Their 2 centre-backs. Meslier even had a fairly decent game. I know people criticise him quite a lot. But yeah, I think Leeds will win 1-0. I think their defence is too solid to not concede, and I think eventually they'll break down the Everton backline.
I mean, Everton, they've not looked good so far, have they? I mean,
They've picked up a couple of draws.
Frank Lampard's probably going to get the boot really soon, and I just think Leeds they've started out strong, signings gelling together. So I'm gonna go for 3-0, another 3-0 for Leeds. I think Rodrigo probably gets 2. I reckon Tyler Adams might just nick a goal for the Leeds side.
So after being on the
Do you
receiving
think there'll be
end-
another red card for Chelsea in that game? 3 games on the
Yeah,
bounce.
true, yeah.
Will there be another Chelsea red?
It was 2 double yellows. I mean, if you watch the game, Conor Gallagher, he's got to make the challenge, but he shouldn't be in that position having to make the challenge. I mean, Koulibaly, to be fair, he was just a prat. I don't know what he was doing, but you can't really blame Gallagher.
Anyway, after being on the receiving end of a 9-0 thumping at the weekend against Liverpool, Bournemouth have a home trip against Wolverhampton Wanderers, who are
It's an interesting game, I think.
Well,
excursion to the
Wolves
playoffs.
going to the seaside. I think, you know what, Wolves will win 2-1. I mean, Bournemouth, I just think their confidence will be at an all-time low, losing to a Liverpool side. Probably, it would be fair to say, not at the top of their game, but
Well, we were that day.
obviously that day,
But again, I think that's, you can look at that game from a tactical perspective and blame Parker for that. The way that he planned it out, you could see actually in the game's highlights I was watching that too many of the midfielders and defenders for Bournemouth were focused on Salah and marking Salah, which worked in the fact that Salah didn't score, but they just not
Let
addressing
the rest of the
not
team.
addressing the rest of the team, who are, you know, obviously a few levels above.
yeah,
but-
that was a point I was going to say. The tactics from Parker haven't been the best. I just think, you know, they go down by 2 goals to Wolves. I don't really know who would score for Wolves. Maybe Jimenez and Traore. But I think they'll probably get a late goal, nothing more than a consolation. But Tom, what do you think about
I'm
this
going to
game?
go with 2-1 to Wolves on this occasion.
You both agree?
So-
I mean, Wolves aren't looking like really promising, but they're a lot better than the Bournemouth side. I mean, for Wolves, who's going to score? I think it's going to be a double for Ruben Neves, and for Bournemouth, I think it's going to be a header from Lloyd Kelly.
Are we sure Jimenez is even going to play? He hasn't been starting a lot
No.
of Wolves games.
He said Neves.
And then looking... Well, you said Jimenez.
Yeah.
Mm.
But I just
Yeah.
think, surely they start him. He's one of their better players. To be
You
fair.
see, he was before that injury though, until he got his
Yeah.
head
He's
cracked
affected
open like
him
Humpty
a lot,
Dumpty.
And he hasn't really since
Bloody hell.
been his old self, has he?
Yeah, we
No,
can't blame
he-
the lad for
he-
getting his
Yeah, but he
head
hasn't
cracked
been the
open.
same player since that injury. But Joe, what do you think?
Well, I think Wolves, again, they haven't won a game yet this season. 2 draws and 2 losses. It's not looked great for them, but
Yeah.
I think against Bournemouth, who are on obviously a decline following that loss, I'm going to go for 2-0 to Wolves. I think Mateus Nunes is an asset to the team and will get a goal. His first against Bournemouth
Looked
on
promising,
Wednesday,
yeah.
and I'm also going to go for Neves to score. I reckon it'll be quite a strike
Yeah.
from a long way out, so 2-0.
Yeah, well,
This
I also believe that this will be the game that Wolves get their first win of the season. I'm gonna go for a 1-0 Wolves win. I just don't think that Bournemouth are good enough going forward to really trouble that Wolves back line. I think that's looked fairly solid despite their results. Like Collins and Kilman both looked very decent centre-back duo, and obviously Sarr in goal, he did the best save record last year, so he's obviously a decent keeper. And I think that going forward for Wolves, I think Guedes on his second game for the club, he got an assist last weekend, so he's looked pretty decent since he came in, so I reckon it's time for his first Wolves goal for this game.
Well, I do have to say, another interesting point is the managers in this game. I mean, Scott Parker versus Bruno Lage is probably a battle of who gets sacked last.
Last?
Yeah.
First.
Yeah.
No, like, who
Oh, yeah,
stays
okay,
the
who-
longest.
Well, neither of them
I think
are,
Large will stand the job. I think he did a good job
They've-
last season with what he had, and it hasn't been a good start to the season, but I think they'll pick up points
Scott
later
Parker
on.
is definitely going to go for me.
Yeah.
That's who I predicted to get sacked anyway. But what's the next game?
Arsenal v
Um,
Aston Villa. Oh, sorry.
I know, I think it's Man City versus Nottingham Forest, I believe.
Oh,
I mean,
I don't think it matters. I
It
think they're at the
doesn't-
same
they're at the
kickoff
same
time.
I'm sorry,
So which game we doing? Arsenal, Aston Villa, or Man City?
Oh,
let's
Tom-
go for Man City.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I mean, for me,
Kick
I'm
us
gonna
off.
for this game, I'm gonna go with 3-1 to Man City. I mean, who's gonna score
they
for Man
playing?
City?
Nottingham
Nottingham Forest.
Forest.
I mean, the Forest side are looking alright, but I think against City it's going to be a struggle for them. So who's going to score for City? I believe Kevin De Bruyne will get 1, and Haaland's going to get 2. And for Forest, who's going to score? Brennan Johnson, because I think he's still good. He's a good player.
He did also punch Richarlison last weekend as well.
Quite interesting that you say they're going to score against quite a strong defence.
Palace got to.
They couldn't score against Tottenham's strong defence, but it's obviously City.
It's just different games, so different things happen.
Also,
you wouldn't expect Palace to score 2 against City,
With
would
the Premier
you?
League,
So
it's not always the same. There can be a lot of surprises.
there's random results in the Premier League. You can't accurately predict every result. Anyway, Joe, what do you think?
I think this game's going to be a eye-opener for Steve Cooper, no pun intended. But actually, it was intended. Because I think that he's going to finally realise how competitive the Premier League is. I'm going to go 4-0 to Man City.
Oof.
And he's going to learn that all these signings, all that, it's not a FIFA career mode. You just got to actually be a good coach and be tactically strong as well as just signing people. So
Guess
I think
you
this
don't
is,
like
this
Steve
is,
Cooper that much.
No, I'm not saying I don't like him. I'm just
He's an alright manager, to be fair.
he's just
Well,
he's just
moving
what
on.
he is. So 4-0.
Ryan, you seem to disagree with Tom. What were your thoughts?
Well, I just don't see Nottingham Forest scoring against a strong Man City defence. I'm going to actually have to agree with a 4-0 thumping in favour of Man City. I mean, I think it's going to be a big wake-up call, as you say, for Nottingham Forest and Steve Cooper. And I think be a real challenge to see how he comes back from this game and how he adapts his squad to play the next match and see if they can win that match.
Yeah, well, for me, I have been trying to back Nottingham Forest. They're a pretty big club. I want to see them doing well. I'm hoping they'll have a season like Brentford last season, finish 13th in the league. Their first season, that'd be pretty good for them. But I don't think I can back them to get anything against City at the moment. I think it will be 3-0 to City in the end. De Bruyne, Mahrez, and probably Haaland.
Thoughts on Haaland anyway? At the minute, what are you thinking? Do you think he'll get top scorer or?
It's looking very likely, to be fair. Unless Harry Kane starts scoring a few more.
As a first season, his debut season in the Premier League, someone of his age as well, getting a
I mean, the amount of goals he has already is already a pretty good start.
I could see Harry Kane.
Harry Kane is the only person. I mean, he's scored our last 4 goals.
Yeah, he's catching up.
And when you have a good Son in there as well, which right now he's not on form.
Yeah, I was going to say, as a Tottenham fan, are you impressed with Son at the moment?
He'll come good. I'm a little bit concerned.
Would you not?
He's been taken off.
You'd be hoping for him to be up there, wouldn't you?
3-4 games running now. He's been taken off.
Yeah, but I think it won't. Even if he would be playing good, he probably would have got taken off because you don't pay 60 million for one player and then just not play him.
But Son, we know his Son. He goes through his rough patch. He just happens to be at the start of the season this time. Last year, midway through the season, he went for about a month where he was starved of scoring, but of course got golden boot without any penalties in the end. And I think that you can back him to come good again.
Yeah, he should.
All it'll take is 1 goal to get his confidence back.
Yeah.
Anyway, on to the Gooners, Arsenal versus Aston Villa.
Tom, what's your thoughts on this game?
I'm going to go for this game. 3-0 to Arsenal, and who's going to score is going to be 2 for Gabriel Jesus and 1 for Gabriel Martinelli. 2 Gabriels. I mean, the Aston Villa side, they're not looking that amazing for me. They've got very quality stock. They've got good players, but I think it's just the manager that's the problem.
Yeah.
So I think Steve Adis has got to get out the door, really.
Yeah, well, you predicted both Gabriels to score there. Arsenal do seem to be collecting Gabriels for their score.
Gabriel in centre back, Gabriel up front, Gabriel left.
Yeah, they do like a Brazilian Gabriel. But anyway, Ryan, what's your prediction for this game?
I mean, Aston Villa have been very
Without
poor
looking at the ceiling, please.
so far. But I just think Arsenal dominant first.
Dominant.
Yeah, I can't say the word. Harry Kane-esque. First 4 games, first 4 wins for Arsenal. But you know what? I just got a gut feeling, and sometimes you've got to go with that gut feeling. It's going to be a 2-0 Aston Villa win.
Ooh,
It's a very controversial one.
That's out
But
there.
you know when you just trust your gut. It's just a weird inkling I've got.
Well, I can only dream of that happening. But
I mean,
my
my gut's telling me Coutinho and Douglas Luiz to score.
Your gut's very good at forming words, I've noticed.
So my prediction is rather on the contrary to that. I think I'm being the most generous to Arsenal, despite the fact I'm a Tottenham fan. Go for 5-0 because
It's a bit harsh on Villa, I think.
I thought you said 6-0 up, so.
Yeah, but I changed my mind on that.
Still.
Anyway, outside. What are you talking about?
We don't talk about this before.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna agree with Tom on the fact that I think Stevie G's on borrowed time, and he's just not really the man for the job. Most Villa fans that I've spoken to have said that they think that if he doesn't go, even after they inevitably get battered by Arsenal and City, then they're just gonna hate the club. Anyway.
I think after Arsenal and City, they're almost expected to lose those 2 games. I think it'd be a bit too early to sack him then, but if that poor run of form continues, you'd see them being quite justified.
No,
if it is a hammering.
To be fair, I think if they do lose to both teams, they could get him out because they don't want to leave it till later in the season to start getting good run of form.
And I think they've struggled against poor teams as well. They were hammered by Palace. So
well, Palace aren't a poor team, but
true.
they're not like
not
of
the
City,
top level teams.
Liverpool, Chelsea, Tottenham.
With it as well, I think
Brighton.
you are right. If they do get battered, Gerrard's objective for this game should be to keep the goal difference down for the games between Arsenal and City. So I think he does need to focus on his keeping the defence solid in those games. He shouldn't really be looking to win, so that'll open them up to concede. But for me, I'm going to go for an Arsenal 1-0 win. I think that Villa, they will keep it tight at the back. Their main goal is just going to be to not lose, and I think they will just pretty much defend for their lives, and eventually Arsenal will break them down. Players like Jesus are on brilliant form, so I think eventually he'll score. Could even be a penalty or something, but I think Jesus will get the 1 goal. And for Villa at Gerrard, he definitely needs to change the form soon, and I would like to see him do well there, but at the moment he's just not. But I do think Villa are quite unlucky with their results as well. They normally only just lose, and that's why I predicted them to only just lose to Arsenal 1-0.
I honestly think that Arsenal and Tottenham this year are going to be in very, very close quarters, competing for whichever position they're going to be competing for.
I think it'll be third or fourth for those two.
Yeah, maybe, perhaps.
Who do you reckon's coming second?
But they are...
Liverpool, probably.
It's been 4 games, who knows, they could still win it. I mean, but... There's going to be a lot of competition between those 2 North London clubs this year. Speaking of North London, it's another North London club. Tottenham are playing against West Ham, another away trip to the London Stadium.
And West Ham picked up their first win last
They did.
weekend, I believe.
1-0,
Well, Joe, why don't you start us off this time? What do you think of this game?
So West Ham are poor. Let's address that.
They haven't had good form
A 1-0,
so far.
a 1-0 win against a team in meltdown is not too convincing for me.
It is good for them to finally get the points on the board, though.
And it's their first goal. They've only scored 1 goal of their campaign this year. But I think Tottenham, we have got to address the issues there as well. And I know it looks good on paper, but it looked good with Nuno under the start. And I know that Conte is a very different person to Nuno. The experience is...
One's aggressive, one's just Santa Claus.
I would be offended if I could compare to Nuno with Conte.
Honestly, after watching the game yesterday and watching... the Wolves game in the second half, we were good. But against Forest, I wasn't convinced. We scored 2 goals. We went forward a lot. We were really toothless going up front. I think the defending relied too much on those 2 in midfield as well. Højbjerg and Bentancur were having to cover for those 3 at the back who I don't know where they were. I couldn't find Dyer and Sanchez after the game. But we don't often concede. So I think I'm going to go for thought-provoking this. I'm going to go 1-0 Tottenham.
Yeah, well, Tom, what do you think for this game?
I'm going to go with 3-1 to Spurs. It's quite a big result, but the Hammers, they don't seem too convincing for me personally. I mean, who's going to score for Spurs? I think Harry Kane's going to get 2 and Kulusevski's going to get 1.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. And
he's hoping they get 3 goals.
Yeah.
West Ham, Scamacca might score.
Yeah, he hasn't looked too good so far. But Ryan, what do you think for this game?
Well, I just think West Ham, they are notorious for turning up against Tottenham. They could have been losing 15 games in a row, but it's Tottenham. They treat it like their World Cup final, don't they?
Not last year though.
Not last year, but you know they treat it like
I feel
Trinity.
I feel like he's about to go too big on West Ham.
But I'm gonna say Tottenham are too strong for even West Ham treating it.
So forget everything else he just said.
No, but
okay, he was paying his homage to them. So let's move forward.
That's why I'm gonna go for a 2-1 Tottenham win. It's not gonna be an outright thumping for Tottenham, but it's not gonna be a win for West Ham.
Some respect for West Ham there.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean they treat it like
See that? Yeah.
their holy game, like their last game on earth.
World
Yeah,
Cup
well,
final.
Yeah.
No, I think West Ham, they're a decent club. They got some decent players. Obviously, didn't start the season quite so well, but they did finally pick up a win last week, and I think they're going to build from that. And I wanted to throw a shock result in here, so I thought you would all predict Tottenham to win, and you did. So I'm actually going to go for a West Ham 1-0 win. I
can see it happening as well.
Oh,
so
It's
sad.
I'm a Tottenham fan.
I can more see that happening than I was winning.
Yeah, I just want to throw a West Ham win out there. So I think they're a decent club. They deserve the respect that they can cause upsets. But it's just whether they can perform on the day, really. So you guys could easily be right, and I could be heavily wrong. But I'm going to go for a West Ham win, especially with links to Paqueta as well. Their attacking players might try and put a bit more in, prove they should still be playing. You know.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So the Wednesday 8 p.m. game, Liverpool at Anfield against Newcastle United. So
I think this will be
you
a
start
very
now.
good game. Yeah, Liverpool fan. I'm actually not sure. Newcastle, they drew against City, which is very good. But then only got a draw against Wolves, which I think most people might have expected them to win. Obviously, Liverpool didn't start the season well, but then just went and equalled a Premier League record, beating Bournemouth 9-0, just completely out of the blue. But I was very pleased with that. Salah's not looking on the best of form at the moment, but players like Diaz, Elliott and Carvalho are all looking very solid. Even Firmino had a good game, and he seems to turn up against Newcastle. He's got quite a few assists and goals against them, so I'm going to go for a 3-0 Liverpool win. If we just beat Bournemouth 9-0, I'm just hoping that we'll pick up on that and improve more and be able to get a 3-0 win against a solid Newcastle team, because it's fine. After the first few games, I was losing a bit of hope in our performances, but beating Bournemouth 9-0, that's put a bit more hope and faith back in me that we can have a really good game against Newcastle.
I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to jump in there. 3-0 against Newcastle, who drew 3-3 against Man City.
Now, when City are sloppy sometimes, they get up results.
City
like
did
that.
get back against them, to be fair. And
Yeah.
let's face it, Liverpool, you can't expect them to lose coming off the back of a 9-0,
No.
can you?
But I just think 3-0, I think Newcastle probably will
I
get
do
a
like
goal.
Newcastle, and I think
So
they're a pretty solid team, but I'm just trying to be hopeful for Liverpool, because we haven't started the season
I
that
would
well.
probably
so.
say 3-1 to Liverpool. I mean,
There really wasn't that much difference, was
it's
it?
a goal for Newcastle, which shows them respect that they deserve. No, because I just believe you need to respect Newcastle there.
Yeah, well, look, I'll
They
respect
look
them.
like
They are a decent
a
team. They've
new
done really well so
side.
far this season, but
Got to
I'm
make
just
it
trying to be optimistic as a Liverpool fan that we'll have a good win.
For me, I've gone to the same. I've had 3-1 to Liverpool. So I mean, who's going to score for Liverpool? I'm going to go with Nunes. Still goes for Carly. Is he still playing?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
to be fair,
Donkey's
but
still
I
I
suspended.
feel like we should play
It's
Firmino
final-
anyway
final
after
spell.
I
his
think
game
Firmino's
against
going to
Bournemouth.
get one. Salah will he get one? He hasn't been great. He might
I
get
reckon he
one.
might get a
Salah,
penalty.
one.
I feel like he might get a
And then I
penalty.
think Diaz is going to get one, and for Newcastle, Wilson.
Yeah, well, Joe, what do you
Well,
think?
a little part of me thinks it's going to be like an absolute hammering again. A little part of me is thinking 5-1, maybe 6-1 to Liverpool, but this time I'm
What are
actually
you
not
going to say to Newcastle?
going to go against that now, because I just realised Newcastle haven't been bad.
No,
They've
they've been good. They've been good.
They lost a game.
They haven't lost.
They
No,
haven't
they've
lost.
drawn quite a
So,
few.
so they are.
They
unbeaten.
drew
yeah.
against Brighton, who haven't lost. They drew against City, which is quite an achievement.
Yeah, they've just been drawing quite a bit, and they have managed to pick up a win here and there.
Yeah.
So far.
They beat Forest.
Albeit not
2-0.
like thrashings.
Yeah.
They've been pretty. Is it 3 draws? Yeah, it's 3 draws.
Three
They drew to
draws,
Wolves,
Three
actually,
draws, one win.
which I think they'll be frustrated at, but so will Wolves, to be fair. Anyway, I'm going to go for 1-0 to Liverpool. I reckon 88th minute, Roberto Firmino goal.
That's very specific.
It's
there.
very
You-
specific, but I feel like I've seen. It's like deja vu. I feel like I've seen it before.
You've just
there
come
was that
back
season-
from the time machine.
There was a
5
season a
minutes
few
ago.
years ago where we did score like late goals just
Yeah,
all the time for no
yeah.
reason.
Just a
I
reading.
think
weren't
Newcastle
it?
were one of those teams.
Yeah. Are there any more games this
There's the
weekend?
Thursday game, the late one.
Man United vs Leicester, isn't
Or
it?
that-
yeah,
is
the
that
other way
the-
around.
is that the
Leicester
last
at
game
home.
this week?
Yeah, that
This
is.
game week.
I mean,
This is going to be an interesting one.
Who wants to start us off, Tom?
I'll start off. I think it's going to be 2-0 to Man United. I just think it's going to be who's going to score. Ronaldo hasn't been playing for some reason. I think he's been benched by Ten Hag, so let's not go for him.
Well,
to
so
score.
far it's been working.
He's
for them,
acting
so-
like Ten Hag's
Yes.
watching and going,
It's somehow
Get
works
that
for them,
Ronaldo.
but
It is
I
working
think,
for them.
what do you say then? No, don't play Ronaldo.
I just
can't
don't.
not
I
play
think
Ronaldo,
you don't
sure.
play Ronaldo if it's working.
But still, you can't just deny one of the greats like that. Can he?
No, I think you
He's
have to
getting a bit
respect
old,
his
yeah.
choice.
Yeah.
Let him
I
leave
know
the
he's not what he
club.
was, but
If it's working, I
I
think if United were doing bad whenever he was benched, then there'd be an issue. But the fact they're doing well now that he's been benched is kind
I
of.
just think
It's too early
let
to tell,
him
I think.
let
Yeah.
him go, because then both you are happy because you're winning games, and he's happy because he can actually play Champions
Anyway,
League
I think
football.
Who's going to score? It's going to be Fred. And
Fred, that's out there, especially with their love of playing McTominay.
Fred, good old Fred.
Have you guys seen the theory that
Rashford.
McTominay's got some sort of dirt on the Man United owners, and that's why they're playing him? I'm honestly starting to agree with that. There's no way he should be starting in
what's
that
your-
team.
No, he's a Birmingham level player at best.
Yeah, exactly.
What's your
disrespect.
prediction anyway?
Yeah, go on, Joe.
No, that's disrespectful to Birmingham.
Go on, Joe. Your prediction.
I'm going to go 3-0 United, because I don't think United are great by any means. I'm not saying they're a good team,
It's
but
Leicester.
Leicester are right now the worst team in the league by quite a long shot, I think.
But, well, what about Bournemouth?
That's true, but Leicester, they haven't
I think
won a game yet.
I think they're the team in the greatest
And-
decline from what they were. I think.
And also, you know, when you can't beat a 10-men team, I know it's Chelsea and everything, but you can't beat a team with 10 men.
Especially because they were winning, they should be able to at least hold on.
Yeah,
To be
like,
fair,
throwing it away.
you literally look so poor. If you're a Leicester player, you've got to think it's 0-0. They've got a man sent off, and then you go 2-0 down. Like, how does that happen?
And you know, your man Rodgers, he could be the first go, to be honest. He could be. Because
Whoa.
this right now, the fall, the expectation on his shoulders from the Leicester Boars, they're probably going to be very disappointed.
The
with
only
this,
reason
and,
I don't think he'd be the first to go is because how nice their owners are.
I think the only reason he might not be the first go is because how shit everyone else is.
They've been given no transfer business either, so. Yeah.
Oh.
Well, Ryan, what do you think for this game?
I mean, Leicester, they've been very, very poor. And United, they've also been poor, but obviously
Turned it
getting
around a bit
results,
recently,
they've turned
so-
it around. So, you know, I'll go for a solid 3-0 victory for United.
It's more, that's a little more than solid. That's almost like thrashing level.
Yeah, that is. Yeah.
But I think Sancho will score, Ronaldo off the bench, and who else? You know what? Marcus Rashford. He's got
Yeah.
his head out of the politics, I think, and he's more focused on his football now. Not really a good thing for the world, but
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
world of football, it's good for him.
Yeah, and I think I'm last up for this
Yeah.
now. I don't know what to think about, I don't know what to predict for them, because they obviously started really poor, then they had a good result against Liverpool, annoyingly for me, but then against Southampton they did get the win, but they looked poor. And
I
thought-
wouldn't say they
I-
look poor, but
Well, Southampton definitely looked much better then at that, and I think that I feel like we're going to see something similar against Leicester here. I reckon it'll be another 1-0 win for United. I reckon Leicester might dominate quite a bit, but in the end their backline's just not good enough at the moment, and maybe 2-0, but I'm going to go for 1-0.
So that's it then,
That's
isn't
the
it?
end of the video.
That
10
wraps it
games.
up.
That's
I think there's some controversial ones in there. Not,
yeah.
not really.
Yeah, well,
Apart
I
from-
said West Ham would win.
That was
said-
yeah.
Aston Villa.
controversial.
You,
The
you
Arsenal
predicted
one, very-
Villa to lose so bad
5-0,
was
yeah.
kind of.
Yeah. Was it 2-0 Villa? You said.
Yeah.
That's
that-
probably.
To be
was
fair, that
bad.
is quite controversial.
Yeah.
Considering
Two
Arsenal
complete
being-
ends of the spectrum between you two on that one
Yeah,
prediction.
that was
there.
yeah.
Anyway, that is the end of the video.
Another end of
Tell
the
us
spectrum.
if you see this for the game start. Tell us what your predictions are, and
And then when
the beam one.
when we inevitably get them all wrong, come back and say, "Ha, you were wrong."
We do
Yeah,
have
fair
to have a quick shout out to our editor. We'll leave his socials linked in the bio, and we'll pop up on screen what they are now.
were you gonna say his name?
No, he's
No, because we don't
anonymous.
know his name.
Well, you know his channel name anyway. Yeah, thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and every
Every
little
little
helps.
helps.
Adios.